Hello everyone, this is Crusail with the first ever Inugami game review. Today, I'm covering the soon-to-be-released Dark Souls board game developed by Steamforged Games. I was lucky enough to demo it back in June at Origins Game Fair in Columbus, Ohio, and now I want to share it with all of you. So here are the ground rules. I'm going to break down the analysis into three parts: game pieces, gameplay, and my overall reaction to the game. So first, let's discuss the game pieces. There are 7 playable characters based off the starting builds in the Dark Souls games. In the full game, these characters can be leveled up as you go through areas. For the demo, you were able to play as the Herald and the Warrior. Each game piece has a corresponding card that lists your character's usable combat dice and their health/stamina bar at the bottom. Each character is also equipped with an Estus Flask card, with a certain number of uses shown. Along with these pieces are the enemy pieces, including boss figurines and ads. Each enemy is given action cards that dictate the enemy's movements and strikes. Alright, that's about it for the game pieces. On to gameplay. Gameplay for the demo was a single boss battle against the Dancer of the Boreal Valley. It consists of various choices for the player. The main actions are moving, attacking, consuming Estus, and resting. You may move as much as you want during your turn, but every time your character moves to a new position, they must mark off a stamina point on their character card. Attacking can also be continuous, but also costs 1 stamina for every attack. When an attack is declared, the character rolls their designated attack die to determine damage. The only way to regain your spent stamina is to choose to stay still and do nothing, also known as the rest action. This can leave you wide open to the enemy unless you succeed in decreasing damage with a defense or evasion roll. Lastly, you can also choose to take no movement or attacks and use an Estus point to heal all damage done to your character. Now, here's where things get interesting. Your stamina and health are intertwined. On your character card, you mark spent stamina and damage taken at opposite ends of the bar at the bottom of your character card. If your spent stamina and damage taken meet in the middle, your character dies. This makes character management and knowledge of your opponent's moveset extremely essential, and perfectly mimics how you must consider your actions throughout a Dark Souls video game. Alright, now on to the enemy's turn. As I previously mentioned, the enemies in Dark Souls the board game have a set of action cards. These cards are shuffled together to form the enemy action deck. For the demo there was only the boss, but oh man, that did not make things easier. The Dancer's turn consisted of an action card being drawn, and the listed actions being taken. The action cards dictate the movement of the enemy, as well as the number of strikes they complete from that one action. If the enemy action would hit the players, they must roll an evasion or guarding die to see if they can decrease the damage, and then they move their character to either side of the enemy. Once the action is complete, the turn ends for the enemy and goes back to the player. One last thing about the action cards. They also list areas where the enemy is vulnerable after an action. If a character strikes an area marked with red on an action card during their turn, they deal extra damage to the boss. There's another twist. The action card's order doesn't get randomized once it runs out. This means that the players can start to memorize the enemy's attack patterns and plan accordingly, allowing for damage to be avoided and strikes to be optimized. And so combat goes, with the boss dealing damage where it can, while the player grows more and more confident that they have the enemy beat. And then you get the boss to half health. I remember feeling so cool finally getting a handle on the boss, and then I'm told that not only is the action deck being reshuffled, but the Dancer was also given its ultimate signature move, an action that was almost guaranteed to hit. So now I needed to relearn the boss's actions with depleted Estus, as well as learn how to survive its new move. It took a lot of evasion, a lot of planning, and some lucky dice rolls, but 20 nerve-wracking turns later I managed to defeat the Dancer of the Boreal Valley with a flurry of haphazard blows. So, that wraps up the gameplay. Now here are my impressions. Steamforged Games has done a superb job of recreating the Dark Souls video games into a board game format. The pacing of combat as well as the resource mechanics are perfectly executed, and from what I know of the Dancer of the Boreal Valley, they create a faithful representation of the enemy movesets. But more than holding true to Dark Souls gameplay, their system also captures the mood of the Dark Souls game. Early in my fight with the Dancer, my warrior was killed. I was left with my Herald trying to take down a lightly damaged boss. Throughout the rest of the fight I was nervous, and then I was near panicked when the Dancer's second stage was revealed. I was standing during the entire demo, and I could not get my legs to stop shaking. This came to a head with my last turn, when I prayed that my last-ditch flurry of strikes would deal enough damage before I killed myself expending all of my stamina. And then, with the final strike, I felt absolute relief. It was the exact same sensation I always feel when fighting a Dark Souls boss. And that, more than anything, proved to me that Dark Souls the board game is not only a faithful adaptation of a beloved franchise, but is, overall, an excellent game. Well, that's it for me. Thank you all for watching. I look forward to sharing more reviews with you in the future.